God, the last two meetings, she's dishing it back. Yeah. I'm like, no, this is working. Good, good. All right. Call this meeting to order August 20th, 2024. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, good morning, everyone. Sorry for the delay there. More IT issues as we continue to work through those. We do have a quorum present this morning with all 5 commissioners in attendance. Commissioners, if you've had a chance to review the agenda before us this morning, I would ask what your pleasure is.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
A motion to approve by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. First up, under tab A this morning are 4 items out of the Planning and Zoning Department, where we will also have corresponding public hearings. First item is the approval of Resolution 2408-Z001, a conditional use permit for proposed placement of a COW, Communications on Wheels, until a permanent 50-foot cell tower and a 100-square-foot equipment shelter can be constructed as requested by LR Communications Incorporated. With us this morning is planner Cassidy Brown. This time we'll hand it over to Cassidy. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So first off, we've got LR Communications, and we do have our applicant here today as well. And the property owner is Sweetwater County. The legal description that we're looking at here for the property is an aliquot part of Section 31, Township 20 North, Range 104 West. Currently, this parcel is zoned agricultural, and the infrastructure is Rocky Mountain Power, and it's within Fire District Number 1 response area. Here we have our zoning map, and you can see that there's kind of a mix of zoning right there. So we've got residential, commercial, and agricultural zone districts right here in this area. And then the yellow outlined portion is the piece that we're looking at today. So specifically, this corner of the parcel is where LR has leased land. It's 50 feet. And they've gone through an MOU that's been established with Sweetwater County for the lease of that property. They'll be using it as a telecommunications site featuring a temporary mobile tower, and then later it'll have the 50-foot still lattice tower and also a 100-square-foot equipment shelter. And then it will also be fenced and gated to reduce or prevent public access. So upon approval of the conditional use permit, their cow will be moved on site and they'll be able to use that. And then they'll be replacing that with the permanent tower at a later date. Here we've got our public notice posting, posted July 16th, 2024, with view to the north, south, east, and west. And that brings us to the review criteria that we look at for a conditional use permit. There are 9. So the first is that the request is consistent with all applicable provisions of the comprehensive plan. And we do find that it is, the comprehensive plan, one of the goals is to encourage growth and development and contribute to the economic and social well-being of county residents. And something that was interesting is that LR Communications stated to us that where their cell tower is located, it will provide improved access options for high-speed internet. And in this area, 90% of the customers are underserved. The second is that the request shall not adversely affect adjacent properties. The proposed 50-foot tower won't affect the adjacent properties. It is far back from any of the setbacks, far exceeds the requirements there. And also the fall zone wouldn't cross any property lines. And then another thing to note is just, again, they're going to be fencing in, preventing public access to that property. Third is the request is compatible with the existing or allowable uses of adjacent properties. And it is where we're at right there within the growth management area. The adjacent properties are agricultural, residential, and commercial use. And a cell tower could be conditionally allowed on any of those properties. And so we find that it's allowable in this area. The fourth and fifth, the request can demonstrate adequate facilities and demonstrate adequate provisions for maintenance of the use and associate structures. They have adequate access there, and they are going to be working with Rocky Mountain Power as well to have AC power run for the permanent site. So once they get to doing the construction for that, then they'll be working with Rocky Mountain Power for the AC power. Six, the request is minimized to the greatest degree possible adverse effects in the natural environment. They're within the agricultural zone, so there's no maximum height restriction on structures here. And we don't anticipate any adverse effects on the natural environment by having this cell tower in this location. It also won't create undue traffic congestion. It's an unmanned site, shouldn't be an issue there. And then for number 8, the request will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare. Staff finds that we don't anticipate that there will be any adverse effects. There's not going to be any additional noise, traffic, or vibrations. And again, as previously stated, the fall zone will not cross any property boundaries. And then our final review criteria that we look at is that the request conforms to all applicable provisions of the resolution. It meets all of our setback requirements. There's no height restrictions. And we find that the request will conform to the provisions of the resolution if the conditional use permit is approved. We did receive 2 agency comments. Mark Berry with Lumen says no conflict, and James Tardoni of Joint Powers Water Board said no comments. And that brings us to the land use staff comments. We recommend approval. And so did the Planning and Zoning Commission. They did vote to recommend approval as well for the conditional use permit for the cow 50-foot cell tower and 100 square foot equipment shelter with staff conditions. And the conditions that we're proposing are that the cow will be removed within 60 days post-construction of the permanent 50-foot cell tower. 2, that the permanent 50-foot cell tower will be constructed within 2 years post conditional use permit approval. And 3, that the conditional use permit applies exclusively to the proposed cow cell tower, a 50-foot cell tower, and 100 square foot equipment shelter. And that's all I have for this one. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Cassidy. Appreciate the explanation. Any questions for staff on the proposed conditional use permit, commissioners? If not, we do need to open this up for public hearings. So at this time, if there's anyone in the audience or online that would like to speak to resolution 2408-Z001, which is a conditional use permit, now would be the appropriate time. Seeing and hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
move to approve resolution 24-08-Z0-01 for the approval of a conditional use permit for a proposed placement of a COW until a permanent 50-foot cell tower and 100-foot equipment shelter can be constructed as requested by LR Communications, including staff conditions.
Do you have a motion to approve by Commissioner Richards? Do we have a second?
Mr. Chairman, I would second that.
Got a second by Commissioner Toman. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next up under tab A is item number 2, which is the approval of resolution 2408-Z002. a conditional use permit for an impound and storage yard as requested by Stoffers Road Solutions LLC. And we'll hand it back to Cassidy.
All right, thank you very much. We also have Stephen Mars with Stoffers Road Solutions. He's online today, attending virtually. So if we have any questions, he can address any of those as well. Property owner here is Commercial Enterprises and Holding LLC, applicant Stoffers Road Solutions. Legal description is all of lot 7 and the east 20 feet of lot 8 in the Foothills subdivision. And the current zoning for this property is I2 heavy industrial, and it's within the scenic slope overlay area. Infrastructure includes Rocky Mountain Power, Dominion Energy, West Side Water and Sewer District, Fire District number 1 response area, and then Wilkins Peak Drive in US 191 South. We have our zoning map here, and we can see that this area is heavily industrially zoned. All adjacent properties are zoned for I2 use. And then site location is pictured here as well. So some background on this specific conditional use permit is that Stoffers Road Solutions LLC was previously known as Stoffers Towing, and they're looking for a conditional use permit under this new name. So Stoffers Road Solutions and the property owner have established a month-to-month lease agreement, and the applicant has been operating a towing business at this location for several years. They have previously had the conditional use permit. That's just name change, and so new permit. The applicant is proposing to continue operating as previously proposed, and while the property on Wilkins Peak Drive is zoned for impound storage and salvage, Stoffers Road Solutions LLC will not be salvaging vehicles under this permit. The towed and wrecked vehicles will be on the lot while awaiting insurance claim processing and vehicle relocation. And then the building that's currently on the property will be utilized for indoor parking and light maintenance of their company vehicles. Here we've got our site photos with our public notice posting from July 16th of 2024 and view to the north, south, east, and west of the property. And we'll go into the review criteria that we look at for a conditional use permit. The first is that the request is consistent with all applicable provisions of the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan states that one of the goals of the county is to identify and promote areas that are appropriately zoned and adequately serviced for industrial uses. And as you could see from the zoning map, this property is appropriately zoned. It's within that heavy industrial district. Second, the request shall not adversely affect adjacent properties. We will be requiring permanent screening on portions of the fence, and we'll go into that in a little bit more detail further on, because they are within that scenic overlay, but the impound yard is not located within 600 feet of a church, school, or residential zoning district, or within 1 mile of a recreational facility, and vehicles are not going to be stacked on this property, and so we do not anticipate any adverse effects on adjacent properties. Third is that the request is compatible with the existing or allowable uses of adjacent properties, and that's all within that very heavy industrial zone district. 4 and 5, they've got adequate access and utilities on this property, and they should be able to meet those. They meet those requirements. 6 is that the request has minimized to the greatest degree possible adverse effects on the natural environment. Again, screening is going to be utilized to protect the scenic view shed of the area, and yearly inspections will be completed to ensure compliance. 7, the request will not create undue traffic congestion. As previously stated, this business has been in operation for a number of years, and we haven't seen or heard of any complaints with traffic congestion issues, and don't anticipate for that to change because it'll be operated in the same manner. And then number 8 is that the request will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare. And we anticipate that it will not, because the yard is operating in an appropriately zoned district, and also there will be no stacking of vehicles on this property. So for impound salvage and storage yards for vehicles, we do have some special requirements that need to be met as well. So like I stated before, these cannot be established within 600 feet of a church, school, residential zoning district. And this one is not. Let's see, screening, we will be addressing. Vehicles will not be stacked. The business will be licensed with the state of Wyoming, and they are. And then the conditional use for an impound salvage and storage yard for vehicles will be termed for 2 years, at which time a new application may be submitted. And after that, they may be termed for a period established by the board. So we can, after those 2 years are up, decide how long this will go for. We received 3 comments, and the first one was Mark Berry with Lumen, says no conflict. West Side Sewer District has no objection to the request, and James Tordoni of Joint Powers Water Board also says no comments. So our staff recommendations on this were that this conditional use permit be approved with the following conditions. First, that the conditional use permit is personal to Stouffer's Road Solutions and runs concurrently with the State of Wyoming Vehicle Storage and Disposal Facility license. And the applicant will submit a copy of the state license to the Sweetwater County Land Use Department annually, which they have done. Second, the conditional use permit is valid for 2 years if the lease between the property owner and applicant is upheld. 3, no salvage and or stacking of vehicles is permissible on this property under this permit. 4, within 6 months of the conditional use permit approval, 100% permanent screening will be required on a portion of the fence at the front of the property, and 50% permanent screening will be required on a portion of the fence on the west side of the property. And that is as depicted in red for the 100%, blue for the 50% in the attached map that we'll look at after this. And then 5, annual inspections for compliance will be conducted by the land use staff. So one thing that I would like to bring up is that we did do a site visit to this location, and at first there were some wrecked vehicles kind of in this upper west corner, and we requested that they move those from the property, and they've been very good at working with us, and they did move those out of that line of sight. The rest of the vehicles that are here at the front property line are personal, they're company vehicles. But this is kind of showing the area that we're looking for them to screen. So when you look at this picture, you can see that the building itself offers sort of a breakup for the view there, and hides the storage of the vehicles at the back of the property. But that front corner needs to be screened. So from basically where the building ends to the corner, to the west is where we're requesting 100% permanent screening. And then along that other, that west fence line is where we're looking for 50% permanent screening. This will first, yes, like protect the view from the adjacent property owners, but also as you go down Wilkins Peak Drive around that corner, you can see somewhat into the side of that property. And so just to kind of keep that out of view is what we're looking for. And with that, that's all I have for this one, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Cassidy. Appreciate that. Any questions for staff on this proposed conditional use permit, commissioners? Any questions for the applicant? If not, we do need to open this up for public hearing. So at this time, if there's anyone in the audience or online that would like to speak to this conditional use permit as presented, now would be the appropriate time. Seeing and hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
Move to approve resolution 24-08-ZO-02 for the approval of a conditional use permit for an impound and storage yard as requested by Stoffers Road Solutions LLC, including staff conditions.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Slaughter. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion is unanimous.
Bless you. Bless you.
Next up under tab A is item number 3. We've got a certified resolution to the 2015 zoning resolution 2408 PZ03 for sections 4B, 5C, 5F, 5G, 8E, 11D, and 21. With us this morning is Land Use Director Eric Bingham. This time we'll hand it over to Eric. Good morning, Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So these amendments are actually nothing too exciting, but they are to clarify some basically single-family attached dwelling units, single-family detached, and also two-family dwellings. We wanted to match what City of Green River and Rock Springs do as far as their definitions go and such. I'm actually going to start where the definitions are, so this will make a little bit more sense. So, I don't know if we're up there or not. I don't see anything.
We've got picture of someone's desktop. Wallpaper.
Let's just see if that works. Plugging in, plugging in. How else fails? There we go. So what I'd like to do is go to the definition section. And so the first thing is we struck out two-family dwellings. And what we're doing is putting all of the dwelling unit definitions into one area. And this is a facilitator for the public and for staff to get in there and see, have all the definitions cohesive and working together. So basically to describe, these will match some of the housing amendments that we made a few months ago. And now that the county is allowing smaller lots, we wanted to make sure those definitions were met exactly the intent of what we wanted to see out there. So single family attached dwelling unit, basically what that is when you have a attached, basically like a townhome. So you'll have a property line that will run through that dwelling unit. So right now we're allowing 8,000 square foot lots to be divided. So 4,000 square foot on one side and 4,000 on the other, smaller lots. So basically that's the definition there. A two-family dwelling is more like a duplex that you see on a single property where someone might rent out the other side. That also matches currently what we have with North of Rock Springs when we have duplex units in R2 zoning and such. That's what that means. So the difference there, a single family detached is basically what it is, a single family detached structure, one house on one lot. So that single family attached is when you'll have two lots and you'll have that attached on one side and attached on the other with the property line through the middle. And so that's just clarifying language that we wanted to put in there, and that's the purpose of that. Accessory dwelling unit, all we did was move the definition from the top there and put it down to dwelling unit accessory. So just didn't change the definition, just moved it so that they're all together. So that everything it matches within the code. We changed the parking regulations to match that new terminology. So now that's in there. We did the same thing in the setback chart, just took those definitions and the new terminology and put that in there in place of the old terminology. And did the same thing in the district use chart. The other change actually is just, like I said, more clarifying language on accessory, kind of explaining, there was some confusion downstairs on how to apply this. But what you'll see out, we've got some of them north of Rock Springs, they're called barn dominiums. And right now, the way the current code reads, and we just wanted some additional clarifying language, is 50% of the dwelling unit within that structure, that accessory use. So let's say you have a shop underneath the dwelling unit above, that shop does not exceed the square footage of the actual dwelling unit. So that's the current regulation actually right now. This just helps further clarify that. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Like I said, pretty straightforward. Just so that we're more matching what the other municipalities are doing and such. So that's all I have.
Thanks, Eric. Any questions on these changes to the different zoning resolutions, commissioners? Do we need a public hearing on this one, Eric?
Yes.
Okay. So with none, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing for the proposed zoning resolution 2408 PZ03. If there's anyone in the audience or online that would like to speak to these changes, now would be the appropriate time. Seeing and hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman. I should have clarified this, but this is to approve a notice of intent. So I just need a motion to approve a notice of intent, authorize chairman to sign.
Thanks for that catch.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner
I'd like
Richards,
to make that motion.
we have a motion to approve the notice of intent and allow the chairman to sign by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. The last item under tab A this morning is item number 4. We've got amended resolutions from the July 16th Board of County Commissioners meeting. And you taking this one, Eric?
Yeah, sure. I'll take it.
Okay.
This is very straightforward. So, Mr. Chairman, at your July hearing, there were 2 resolutions that did not have conditions in them that were recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Somehow those didn't make it onto the resolution. It was a little bit of a communication breakdown with staff downstairs. And so when I listened back to the hearing, your intent was to include those conditions. Actually, your motions were to include the conditions. And so what I have before you today, Mr. Chairman, well, I obviously need to take these separately. We have an amended resolution 2407-Z001 to sign with the condition, and then also an amended resolution 2407-Z002.
Okay, do we need to open both of those up?
John, do we? Mr. Chairman, we do not. We've already had a public hearing on it. This is just amending to reflect the record of what happened in the July hearing.
Very good. Any questions on these amendments, commissioners? If not, I'd entertain a motion to amend resolution 2407-Z001 to include the staff, or excuse me, to include the added conditions.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
I would second.
Second by Commissioner Toman. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Any questions on the amended resolution 2407-Z002, commissioners?
Chairman,
Commissioner Richards,
move to approve amended resolution 24-07-ZO-02 including staff recommendations.
Do you have a motion to approve amended resolution 2407-002 by Commissioner Richards? Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Thanks, Eric. and
Thank you,
Cass.
Mr. Chairman.
Appreciate it. Moving right along in the agenda, Commissioners, is the county resident comments and concerns. We are right on time. At this time, if there's anyone online or in the audience that would like to address the governing body, now would be the appropriate time. Last call. Seeing and hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the county resident comments and concerns portion of the agenda, and this is going to move us into tab B. Before you this morning, Commissioners, under tab B is the consent agenda. We have 7 items. The first being the approval of the August 6th, 2024 minutes, the approval of the county vouchers, warrants, and expenditure approval listing, the approval of bonds, the approval of the monthly reports, the approval of the abates and rebates, approving an amended mill levy, and the approval of the YGAP grant funding opportunity letter to be sent out. Are there any requests to remove any of these items from the consent agenda? If not, Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve our consent agenda.
Got a motion to approve as presented by Commissioner Slaughter. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Toman. Any discussion? I would just say that we were made aware of a new grant assistance program at the state, which is what item 7 is there. And I believe early in our budget discussions this year, it was suggested that some of these different outside agencies look into additional funding. And so this letter is to inform them of this potential opportunity and encourage them to seek assistance and opportunities there. So appreciate staff for bringing that to our attention. And with that, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Moving right along into Commissioner comments. Looks like Commissioner Jones, you're up first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On August 6th, the day Commissioner Richards was supposed to buy lunch, I enjoyed the employee appreciation lunch. Our employees are tremendously important to our day-to-day operations. I appreciate everything they do for Sweetwater County. I'd also like to thank the crew from Commerce Bank for bringing their trailer over and cooking for us. They seem to be very generous with their time and their barbecue trailer, so I appreciate that. And like Commissioner Richards, I will be buying lunch on my correct day. Also on the 6th, I attended and participated in the second night of the Sweetwater GOP debates. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Sweetwater GOP, Johnny K, Bruce Pivick, and everybody involved for putting these debates together and giving the voters what I believe to be a great opportunity to see the differences between the incumbents and those running against us. With all the mudslinging going on, I would like to thank you, Commissioner Tillman and Rose, also for running clean campaigns. Politics can be a dirty game, but I think we've proven it's not necessary, needed, or wanted, and is one reason I'm proud to sit on the commission with you four and respect you all individually. Hope we continue to work together after today and after the November general election. On the 7th, I attended a meeting for cooperators, the BLM, to discuss the resource management plan. As cooperators, we can't discuss the details of what was reviewed with us by the BLM. So one reason we can't discuss it. 2, also, we spent approximately 2 hours reviewing a PowerPoint presentation on a 300-page document. So we really don't have all of the details to share. The final document will be published this Friday for all to see. There are some changes that from the original Alternative B that I'm happy with, but I still have great concerns as to how the overall document will affect Sweetwater County and Wyoming. I'd like to thank everybody in the public who became engaged, and also any public officials, elected officials, county employees. I believe all of our involvement helped shape the outcome, at least to a certain degree. And now the work begins again. Also on the 7th, I attended the Memorial Hospital Sweetwater County Board of Trustees monthly meeting. One of the items on the agenda was approval of a policy that will allow the board to place members of the public on different committees if they so choose. It'll be handled on a case-by-case basis and approved by the full board. Capital expenditures were also discussed, some x-ray equipment, a sewer line replacement, were the main topics in excess of $1 million the hospital is putting back into the organization. So I appreciate them having some skin in the game. On the 7th, Pete Libby held a meet and greet for me. I'd like to take a second, thank Pete. He's a tremendous asset to the state of Wyoming and Sweetwater County and really all the counties around us. On the 8th, I attended the Rock Springs Chamber Eat, Meet, and Greet held at the college. Appreciate Rick and his staff for putting on a great event. It was fun to speak with so many folks that stopped by. On the 12th, I attended the Star Board meeting. They reported they had the second highest ridership for the month, and also that the new buses go into production, one this month and one next month. On the 15th, I attended a Joint Powers Telecom Board meeting. Normal business was conducted, so nothing terribly earth-shattering. Also on the 15th, attended the monthly GOP meeting. Naturally, campaigns were discussed. I did report on the Rock Springs BLM RMP. I think it was pretty telling to see the candidates who attended the meeting and the candidates who chose not to participate in the Republican meeting. Seems some folks only attend for one meeting and put an R behind their name and want to get elected. There's a name for that that comes to mind, but I'll keep it to myself. On the 17th, I volunteered for the Sweetwater Snowpoke Snowmobile and ATV Club and our annual ATV run in the Upper Green. I've not heard official numbers yet, but I did sit at a card stop. And because of sitting at a card stop, we had to leave before the run began. But I counted roughly 80 side-by-sides, and there were plenty more showing up as we pulled out. The Snowpokes use the proceeds from that event for maintenance of both safety shelters that we have, to pay for satellite phones at the shelters, and give money for college and trade school scholarships, amongst other things, to benefit our communities. Not only were we sitting at the cart stop at our strawberry shelter, but we stocked it with a few cords of wood and completed a variety of maintenance items in order to be prepared for winter use. Then the following day on the 18th, the same group went to our Blind Bowl safety shelter and did the same type of maintenance in preparation for winter use. Special thanks to the Boxwye Ranch for cutting and splitting a couple of cords of wood for us to haul up and stack at the safety shelter. Boxwye is a great supporter of our club and all we do. Lastly, I'll report that a great friend and mentor passed away yesterday. Robert Chandler owned and operated Roberts Field Service successfully for many years in Granger. Robert had a kind heart, was always giving someone a helping hand, advice, or sharing his knowledge. And give a long list of attributes that Robert possessed, and anyone who knew him can do the same. What I think are the best compliments I can give is to say Robert was a true friend, a great individual, and people like Robert are few and far between. All my thoughts and prayers for Robert and his family. I'll miss you, my friend. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. I was unaware. Definitely a great man, someone I've done business with in the past, and stand-up individual. So condolences to Robert and his family. That's sad news. Questions for Commissioner Jones's report? If not, thanks for your report, Commissioner. Looks like I'm up next. I'll keep it somewhat brief. I attended the debates on the 5th and 6th, and I want to commend you both for your professionalism in those. It's definitely been a difficult election season with a lot of, I guess, mudslinging, as Commissioner Jones put it. It's unfortunate, and we've always hoped that that wouldn't make its way into Sweetwater County, but here we are. And, I think it takes a lot of courage to throw your name in the hat, and especially so when there's, individual attacks on yourself and your family. It is just kind of despicable times for, I think, our nation, our state, and a little bit of our county too. So kudos to those that are stepping up to try and do the right things and to do it respectfully. I also attended the cooperator meeting virtually on the 7th to hear the most recent news on the RMP. Obviously, we can't share much about that at this point, but they did inform that it'll be released this Friday. Once that happens, it kicks off a 30-day protest period, which runs concurrently with a 60-day governor's review. So it will be interesting to sort through that. As Commissioner Jones kind of pointed out, it was, more of a bird's eye view to some of the different changes with, mainly the hot topic items, but you don't really know the effects of those until we can get into the individual management actions. And there's several hundred of those. So we'll look forward to studying that closer, but we hope for a positive change. It looks like there's been some bend in some important areas and the others need further review. So we'll hope for success in that realm and look forward to its release. I attended the welcome reception for Dr. Kirk Young, Western Wyoming Community College's new president, last Tuesday out at the Spicer Pavilion, and welcome him and his family into the community. Comes all the way from New York. He is a Buffalo Bills fan, so that helps for those of us that follow Josh Allen. But seems like a good guy, good family, and should be a good fit for the college. So I attended a virtual meeting, I think it was last Thursday, with WCCA Director Jeremiah Ryman and Commissioner Tom Ryan from Hot Springs County. The intent of that was for a non-dues revenue subcommittee. I guess years ago, I think perhaps you might have been on the commission, Commissioner Toman, but WCCA had attempted to establish a county employer group. And the idea behind that was for workers' comp. Evidently 19 of the 23 counties moved forward with that. Sweetwater chose not to. And so that ultimately killed the effort with that. Sounds like there's an attempt to bring that back and see if there's any interest again. This was briefly discussed at the spring retreat, which we had down in Saratoga earlier this year. And so Jeremiah reached out wondering if we would be interested. I told him, obviously, I would need more information on that, and I'd be happy to become more educated on the topic, but ultimately it would become before us all. The intent behind it is to improve the health and safety of the workforce, improve back to work rates and numbers. The idea is to not replace staff. I think obviously a bigger county like ourselves, we have an HR department and risk management, but some of these smaller counties throughout the state, like Hot Springs, for instance, that don't have the resources. The intent is to try and help them out. And, ultimately to reduce the county premiums and liabilities. If they were to move forward with that, then the Department of Workforce Services offers a 10% savings by creating this employer group. That, of course, would come back to WCCA, which would allow them to hire a claims analyst. So there's a lot more to it. Evidently, North Dakota has this program implemented, and so I'll continue to attend some of those meetings and bring that back for you. But I just want to let you know that there is kind of a push for that, and I don't know exactly how that'll look, but Jeremiah has asked that we set up kind of a working or learning group, which will likely be myself, our HR director, and county clerk, since it would touch each of those departments. So I will report more as I learn more on that, but just wanted to give you a heads up. I read an editorial in the Rocket Miner last week that Ann put together, and I just wanted to thank her for commending the commission on their transparency. This board works very hard to be available to the press and to the public and to handle business openly. So that's a credit to you all for your continued work in that realm. And I just wanted to thank Ann for giving us a nod. That was much appreciated. As I continue to reflect on the budget, I think this year obviously was kind of difficult, but I continue to receive some feedback from some of the different departments and staff in regards to kind of the vision of this board and what the future looks like. And I think it'd be beneficial if perhaps we all get together and have some form of a future planning workshop. I think right now we're kind of in maintenance mode and just keeping up with the different needs. And obviously we've had lots of challenges this year between the RMP and some other areas that have kind of forced us to set money aside for different unknowns. But ultimately, I think we all have lots of needs or wants or desires to do good things for the community. And if we have all that on, I guess if we're all on the same page with that, then we can better plan for the future. And I think that'll help with future budgeting needs. So if you're open to it, I know we all love meetings, but I think it's probably a little bit easier to have those discussions in a workshop format. And if you're open to that, then I'll try and coordinate and set something up in the future. Looks like I'm getting the nods, so I'll touch base with you all on that. Aside from that, we have the workshop with the University of Wyoming Extension Office this Friday. That'll be here in the Commission chambers. It's going to be more of a roundtable. Obviously open to the public. It will not be recorded, so I just want to be upfront with that. We're just going to put some tables out in the middle there and try and get some education on the different things that UW does and just a better understanding, since the majority of us are new up here, and continue to march forward with that. Next week, I've got Southwest Counseling and the Board of Health Liaison meetings on Wednesday, and look forward to catching up with them. I believe that completes my report, Commissioners. I'd stand for any questions.
I do have a question. You mean employee, county employee group, not employer, right?
Yeah, they called it an employer group, but
They did?
yeah.
Oh.
It's more or less just a claims analyst that would work on behalf of the counties, but it'd be funded through the WCCA that would help with basically workers' comp claims and training and, going after the different discounts that counties can achieve by, increasing, training and awareness. It all comes back to an EMR rating, which is an experience modification rating. There's different benefits allegedly with having a collective county EMR rating, but then depending on if that rating is worse than your individual county, there's some questions in that. So again, I don't pretend to have all the answers yet, but it's an interesting proposal that I'll be bringing before you one way or the other.
Thank
Did
you.
that answer your question, Commissioner? Okay. Any other questions? If not, Commissioner Slaughter, you're up next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the 6th, I too attended the Employee Appreciation Barbecue, which circumvented Commissioner Richards' responsibility to buy our lunch. So I would thank Treasurer Cowan and Commerce Bank for doing that. Not for all of us, but for Commissioner Richards. On that evening, I also attended the first of 2 debates sponsored by the Sweetwater County Republican Party at the Broadway Theater in Rock Springs. The debates that night were held for 4 of the legislative races that are contested this year. I would compliment each of the candidates for the professionalism demonstrated in the debates. It's very difficult to participate in this type of forum. Each of the candidates represented themselves very well. On the 7th, I too attended the cooperators meeting for the BLM Rock Springs RMP, along with our county planner, Eric Bingham, and Deputy County Attorney John De Leon. We had some good discussion while we were talking or hearing what is taking place with the RMP. It's interesting, looking forward to see what will come out on the 23rd when that's released. That evening, I attended the second night of debates, which featured 3 legislative races and the candidates for the Sweetwater County Commission. Once again, I'd like to compliment each of the participants. Sweetwater County will be well represented regardless of who the voters select today. On the 12th, I conducted the monthly meeting of the Specific Purpose Tax Joint Powers Board. Requisitions for last month were approved. We also discussed the collections to date. Robert Hood of Sunrise Engineering and Kjell Jasperson of Jamestown's district gave an update on where Jamestown is with respect to their project. They're currently still in the planning and engineering process and are looking at about a year before they are ready to move forward with their phase one of their project. I also reported that we've collected the data necessary for the first annual audit of the Joint Powers Board. I should be receiving a call this week to further discuss the audit with Josh Bergener of McGee, Hearn and Pies LLP. To date, we have collected $23,783,267.59, which is just over 30% of the total tax approved by the voters. Later that evening, I attended the quarterly tripartite board meeting. Tripartite board approved quarterly report number 3, the financial report, the community action strategic plan, and the CAP 60 reports. We also had a discussion of low-income population activities in our area. Term expirations for board members were addressed, and we chose to re-elect April Thompson as chair, Sandy Lake as vice chair, and Linda Cott as secretary of treasurer. We reviewed the fiscal year 2025 CSBG grant application, and our next meeting will be on November 12th of 2024. On the 16th, I met with Candy Pendleton and Tamara Musgrove of the Sweetwater County Events Complex and representatives of the Sweetwater County Horseshoe Pitching Club to address some concerns of the club and suggestions that would be necessary for the club to hold the 2025 state horseshoe pitching contest. Candy and Tamara were great and took us out to look at the Horseshoe Complex and pledged to help upgrade the area. I then met County Parks and Recreation Superintendent Chris Bradford and Purchasing Director Marty Durnovich at the Knight Oil Building to look at the decommissioned pat traps that we will be discussing later today. There are 7 pat traps and 9 Western Thrower single trap throwers that we will consider. That night, I attended one of my favorite annual events, the City of Green River's River Fest. As always, the shrimp dinner was excellent. As part of the event, local artists compete in various disciplines in the Island Pavilion. It never ceases to amaze me the level of talent on display at this event each year. I had the opportunity to talk with U.S. Senator John Barrasso, who has become a regular attendee at the celebration. The night culminated with good music and an excellent fireworks display put on by the city. Yesterday, I met with Public Works Director Legursky to discuss the latest developments within his department. They are putting the final touches on improvements to County Road number 1. They have a couple of days of patching left, and weather permitting should be finished by the end of next week. The striping should be then completed the week of the 26th. The entry door button on the main entrance to the south side of the courthouse is not operational right now. Because this is the handicap accessible entry to the courthouse, the exterior door will be propped open today to allow for voters to access the building. Gene also relayed that the bridge deck on the Clay Basin Bridge that goes over Red Creek will be shut down for repairs on September 16th. His crew will be completing this work in-house and all materials have been ordered. The bridge will be out of service for approximately 1 week while repairs are completed. Gene has notified parties that may be affected. He did provide me with pictures of the bridge deck if anyone would like to see them. This morning, I exercised my privilege to vote. I hope everyone takes the opportunity that we have to select the leaders that will guide us for the next few years. And I wish best of luck to all of the candidates. With that, Mr. Chairman, I would stand for any questions.
Thanks, Commissioner. Any questions for Commissioner Slaughter's report? If not, Commissioner Tillman, the floor is yours.
Well, I could say ditto because everything has been covered, but I will try to hit the highlights. I did attend the debates with Commissioner Jones and Rose Mosby for the commission part of that debate. I want to thank the GOP and Johnny Kay for helping sponsor that. On August 7th, I did attend the Rock Springs BLM RMP meeting. And we all anxiously await the final plan, which we will see on Friday, the 23rd. They shared a lot of maps with us, so we'll see how that all works out. On the 8th, I attended the candidate meet and greet that the chamber sponsored at Western Wyoming College. And no, I did not participate in the cook-off as everyone else did. Commissioner Taylor had a very wonderful food display, and I enjoyed that as I shared candy. That was easier to cook. On the 14th, I attended a special call with the airport chairman and Devin and myself regarding litigation on the terminal project. On the 15th, I attend the Sweetwater GOP meeting and did get to hear the candidates and participate in that. It was very good information. On the 16th, I did attend the Green River Festival, and I could say yes to all of that. The food was great. The shrimp boil was great. The artists were amazing. The music was good. The fireworks were wonderful. I didn't get to see the duck race and I did not win, so didn't win the fish contest either. So they had some good fundraisers for the Riverwalk. That was good. On the 17th, on my way home, I saw the wild horse trap that was between Rock Springs and Green River. So I had asked for permission to attend, but my text got lost in a discontinued email. So I talked to Jay Deert at the Krells, and I was able to participate all day and watch the gathers. And all I can say about it is that it was very professionally done. And the horse numbers are like 2 to 3 times what they should be. If we do not have healthy habitats, we will not have healthy horses. So it's necessary to keep them within the range of what they're allowed. But the gather was very professionally done. The horses were not stressed. I was amazed. It was very well done. So thank you to the BLM and their crew. They did a great job. Coming up this week, have airport board meeting tomorrow and the open house at 4 o'clock for the elected officials, I believe. Devin can give us an update on that more. Our coalition of local governments meets on Thursday in Lyman at the Conservation District to talk about all of our pre-decisional federal comments. The Young at Heart meets next Tuesday. So those will be my activities for the upcoming week.
Does that complete your report,
That
Commissioner? All right.
completes my report. Thank you.
Very good. Any questions for Commissioner Tomans' report? Thanks for that, Commissioner. Commissioner Richards, you're bringing up the end there.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. It's been another light load for me since I saw all of you last. On the night of the 6th, I also attended the second night of the primary candidate debates that were hosted by the Sweetwater County Republican Party. I encourage everyone to seek both nights of those debates out on Facebook or YouTube and watch them before you vote today, which brings me to an important point, and that is that today is primary election day. Polls are open until 7 p.m., and I encourage everyone to exercise their duty to our constitutional republic responsibly. With that, I would also like to assure you that our elections in Sweetwater County are secure, and you can cast your vote knowing that it will count and be counted securely and accurately, despite some of the alarmism that is getting spread through social media in our county. I, like many of you, will be here tonight at 7 p.m. eagerly awaiting the results. I want to thank everyone in the clerk's office who are working on the election today, as well as all the volunteers who make it possible to have a free and fair election in our county, our state, and our country. And I want to thank our IT department who will be here making sure the results are available for all to see. On the 7th, I skipped the BLM's cooperating agency workshop in favor of attending Sheriff Haskell's services, whether it be through song or speeches. Rich's family represented themselves well on his behalf, and I think he would have been proud of them. On the 8th, I attended the Rock Springs Chambers Eat, Meet, and Greet for candidates. It was a great chance to visit with candidates while some of us fed the guests and competed with each other in the barbecue competition. I want to thank the judges for the fantastic job they did in evaluating the entries. They clearly have impeccable taste. And I just wanted to point out to the good Commissioner Jones that it's okay not to win all the time. And while second place is just the first loser, his tacos did hit the spot and were really good.
And yours was?
Mine was the champion brisket. Yes, ma'am. So I did feed commissioners that week. Maybe not here, but I did feed commissioners that week. I do want to give credit where credit is due, though, because bringing home first place was a team effort. And without my wife Teresa's homemade barbecue sauce and cookies, my brisket was just mediocre. So on the 13th, I remotely attended the Sweetwater County Outdoor Recreation Coalition Steering Committee meeting. We mostly just worked on the agenda for September's board meeting, so nothing to report there. Later that day, I attended a welcome reception in the Spicer Pavilion at the events complex for Dr. Kirk Young and his wife, Katie. I want to welcome both of them to Sweetwater County. I think he's going to be a great addition to Western Wyoming Community College, as well as our entire community. And I look forward to seeing everything he accomplishes there. On the 15th, I attended the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting where they addressed the hearings that we dealt with earlier. And they also had some board training that included some of the history of zoning in the United States, as well as some background of the applicable Supreme Court decisions that enable zoning. Eric also shared some of his goals for continuing to clean up and clarify the county zoning resolution. As you know, it's an ongoing process and there's always room for improvement, as you saw we worked on today. Later that day, I remotely attended both the WCCA monthly legislative update and the WCCA monthly meeting. On the 15th, I remotely attended the NACO Western Region monthly check-in where we received some updates on federal legislation, including the Farm Bill, which is a $1 trillion plus measure that has a lot more in it than just agricultural funding and really affects all of us, even down here at the county level. We also received information on AI in government, as well as an update about cybersecurity best practices. On the 19th, I made my monthly appearance on KREO and also attended the library board meeting. They are currently opening bids for the meeting, accepting bids for the meeting room remodel project, and they should know by the end of the month whether their application for a grant to fund the HVAC replacement at White Mountain Library was successful. In the short term, the air conditioning there is up and running. So for the most part, it is business as usual. If you remember, they had to close down a couple days last month because of the heat. I want to congratulate Library Director Lindsay Travis on her election to serve as president of the Wyoming Library Association. On another interesting note, a years-long project to provide markers for the reinterred bodies that were found on library land culminated recently with a ceremony to dedicate the new markers for their graves at the cemetery here in Green River. Something else that has also been at the back of my mind is the indigent care policy that we adopted last year. We've used it a few times now, and we submitted last year's payments to the WCCA for compensation from the state. So we're waiting to find out if that comes back as a full compensation or partial. In recent weeks, we had our first use of the indigent veterans policy. Everything went relatively smooth, and I want to thank Sally for the diligence that she's put into making sure the applicants provide all the necessary documentation. We've identified some weaknesses in our process. So over the next year, we'll be pulling together the committee we formed to clean those issues up, but overall, it seems to be working. Our funeral homes aren't getting stuck with people that they can't do anything with, and people who die in our community without resources are getting the respect they deserve. Also, I wanted to let you know that about 2 weeks ago, Sweetwater County had a wildland fire on private property near Ramsey Ranch. Due to the remoteness of the fire, a request was made to State Forestry for assistance with airstrikes. A total of 17 drops occurred, which equals about 2,500 gallons of water, leading to a 100% containment. Air support is expensive, as is firefighting in general. And while the fire did not qualify for the suppression account funds, cooperative service agreements did kick in. And it looks like State Forestry is going to cover the costs of those airstrikes, which are estimated to be valued somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000. BLM will assume responsibility for their resources and the retardant used, leaving the county responsible for the county resources and the Alta Pacific Type 2 hand crew for an estimated impact to the county of $20,000 to $25,000, which is pretty good for a wildland fire. The system worked as it was designed to, and I want to thank Fire Warden Adams and all those partner agencies involved for their quick response, quickly controlling a fire that could have easily blown up into something larger and much more dangerous. Going forward tonight, I'll try to attend the WCCA's presentation by Congressional Western Caucus Executive Director Noah Yantis, followed by election results watching here at the courthouse. Tomorrow, I plan to attend a housing task force meeting and the Rock Springs Airport Master Plan briefing. On the 23rd, I'll be back here for a workshop with the UW Extension. On the 26th, I'll attend the Combined Communication Joint Powers Board meeting. And on the 27th, I'll attend the next Fair Board meeting. I think that's all I have for you today, Mr. Chairman. I'm happy to stand for any questions.
Thanks, Commissioner. I thought you said it was a light couple of weeks for you.
I like how he always says that.
Summer's over. It's time to get back to work.
Any questions or comments for Commissioner Richards' report? If not, busy times like always, commissioners, even when it seems like things slow down. I'm not sure they ever truly slow down. There's always plenty of phone calls and emails and a lot going on in the county. So kudos to you all for staying on top of it and for all the work that you do. We are a little bit ahead of schedule here. Our next item is at 10:25. So we are going to take a break and resume at 10:25. Look at that beautiful artwork, Sally. Remember that one? What's that?
Oh, I always manage to miss one. I'm glad you're catching the.
It's supposed to be tomorrow. Yeah. Supposed to.
put towards approved capital projects. The resolution before you simply provides the authority for the airport board through me to execute the new application, which is a single page document, and allow for me to make any amendments to open applications. So let's say we get to December 1st and we still have $3,000 of collection authority left. I can amend that application out a couple more days or a couple weeks to be able to make sure we collect everything that was on that application. So that's what this resolution is. Once again, something we've been doing since 1995. It's a user fee, and it helps defer, or not defer, but defray the costs to the local governments by helping us fund approved capital projects that meet FAA regulations. So happy to answer any questions you have on that. Otherwise, the resolution's there for your consideration.
Thanks, Devin. Any questions on the resolution, commissioners?
Yes.
Commissioner Tolman?
Devin, has this been approved by your airport board yet?
It will be tomorrow, or it's going to be considered tomorrow morning by the airport board.
I have a little bit of issue approving this before the airport board has done it. And also I have concern in the first paragraph. It should say airport board, not director. I know you're authorized by that, but we deal with our MOU is with the airport board.
The Madam or Mr. Chairman, and I feel like I'm talking to the legislature. I screwed that up. I apologize. Mr. Chairman and Commissioner, the reason I'm listed there is the airport director is the one that executes the PFC application, not the airport board. And Mr. Chair, if I might address the other item, because of schedules of meetings, in terms of our deadline for December 1st collection authority, we have never on any resolution in at least my 9.5 years here followed a specific order that the airport board has to approve something before the county or the city. If that's a new requirement, then we need to know that going forward so we can schedule that appropriately. But usually these meetings happen like this, where they're within, I have a county meeting this morning, city or meeting tonight, an airport board meeting tomorrow morning. If we have to wait, then it pushes everything off another couple weeks until your next meeting. So, which I will not be able to attend, unfortunately, due to other commitments.
I also think that it should include a list of what are these capital projects that you've proposed to them. We haven't seen those. And section 1 at the bottom, it's kind of going outside of our MOU. The counties and the cities determine capital, not the director. I know you're getting excited, but I think we need to get in line with the proper procedures as far as our MOU regarding the airport and getting things approved by your board before they come to this board. I don't know how the other commissioners feel, but I feel like we need to have things in proper alignment.
Explain your capital improvement program. I can't remember off the top of my head. Is that something that comes before the sponsoring entities? Is that something that's done internal from the airport board, or how does that work? I think what Commissioner Tolman's referring to is the line that says, and the expenditure of revenues. Revenues could be open and vague, but it says that it's in accordance with the CIP. So explain that.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So if we're referring to section 1 there where it says, let's see here, let me get to the beginning of it, that the airport director is authorized to fill a new application and amend as necessary any open applications with the FAA authorizing the continuation of the imposition of a PFC at the $4.50 level. So that's the collection, that's the revenue component. And then the next section is, and the expenditure of revenues, which is the $4.50 revenue component, spending the money. So PFC application, you have to have authority to collect. You have to have authority to spend. There's two different authorities there, and that's what that is explaining, is you have the authority to collect the PFC and then the authority to expend the PFC. In terms of the projects that are going to be in our application, the projects are going to be all of the projects that have occurred Since 2016, there is no future projects in this application. They are past projects that allow us to reimburse local matches on past projects. So projects like the runway reconstruction project in 2016, where we had a match to the federal and the state grants, this money will reimburse us for those matches, which then allows us to put that money towards our operating budget and keep our requests to you all lower. So there is no future projects in this application. They are all past projects that have already been completed. And this is just to reimburse for the local matches on those projects. And in terms of the capital plan, to your question, Mr. Chairman, the airport board has historically always been the entity that has created and approved the capital plan. Doesn't mean that those expenditures ever actually happen, because for us to be able to expend money, we either have to get the grants, we have to come up with the revenues, or we have to come ask the city and the county for the funding for our budget. So in the end, the city and the county get to review all of our projects we do on an annual basis, but we're required by the FAA to provide a 20-year capital plan, which if you all can come to the master plan meetings tomorrow, you will see our 20-year master plan of all the future projects. But to be very clear, this money that will be in this application will be used to reimburse the airport board for local matches on past projects, everything from runway reconstructions, snow removal equipment acquisitions, seal coat and markings, crack seals, basically anything that has happened largely since 2016. Those monies will get credited back. So when we collect the revenue, about $70,000 a year, that money goes into a dedicated PFC account because we have to keep separate accounting for it per federal law. And then we do a transfer from that account to our operating account, and it shows up as revenue in our budget under non-operating revenue. Down at the bottom, you'll see, if you look at our budget line by line, it shows the PFC income, and there is no expense associated with that because the expense has already occurred prior. So it's a reimbursement to the airport board. Once again, that 60,000, 70,000, 80,000, as passengers grow, that number goes higher. Then that number offsets any of our funding shortfall, helps offsets any of our annual funding shortfall for the airport. So, and Mr. Chairman, just once again, there has been a lot of things said over the last couple months about what the airport board's responsibility is. For decades, for 5 decades, the airport board has managed the capital investment at the airport, has used airport revenues as much as possible to fund the capital expenditures at the airport, obviously with the help when we can't do it ourselves with the city and the county. If there's going to be a change in interpretation in the joint powers agreement, I think we need to have that conversation, but stopping the ability of us to collect money that helps offset the cost to local taxpayers over an interpretation of a joint powers agreement that I don't think has fully been completed at this point, I think is something I would be hesitant and concerned that we would do, because if we miss this deadline, we start losing revenue. We don't get to go back and collect revenue for passengers during any gap in this approval. So if we need to change how we do business with the county, then I think that I would hope that we could sit down and have that conversation, and we can create whatever process that is. We're happy to follow whatever process. I just know that we have a certain deadlines we have to meet to be able to meet the FAA deadlines with this application. So, and it's something we've been doing since 95. So nearly 30 years. So
in response to that, thanks for answering my question. First off, that clarifies quite a bit, but I don't think we want to get sideways on the agreement or the relationship between the county and the airport board. And I think because of the situation we're in with the terminal project and the added expense and the unknown added expense, that certainly we're going to look at things a little bit differently. That's a lot of money. You're well aware of that. And so, yes, the MOU clearly defines that the operation is the responsibility of the airport board, and that your joint powers partners should and will have, a say on any improvements. And so I think maybe some of that got missed, in the interpretation. The idea is not to say this is our job and we'll tell you what you can do. I think we're beyond that, but certainly we're hesitant, and we want to ask the questions and make sure that there's more accountability there. And that's not pointing the finger at anyone in
Mhm.
general. It's just that that's a lot of money. I mean,
Mhm.
we're talking anywhere from 3.5 to, I think, 10.5, the last I knew, on this, I guess, phase 2 of the airport terminal. And so when we see things like this and it states that, revenues, it seems vague. It seems like, the explanation you just gave me wasn't included in that. And so certainly we're going to ask questions. So I would just caution you to not be so defensive, because I think you've had our support up here. And I don't want the airport board to get defensive by us asking questions. I think that's our due diligence, and that's what we're elected to do. So,
Mr. Chairman, to be clear, I was not trying to,
no, I know.
there's been, outside of this meeting, there's been numerous comments made in our airport board meetings that have been very confrontational. And it has created some concern that we do need to have an opportunity to sit down as a group and work together as we always have. And I really appreciate the relationship with you all. And I have no intention of trying to sour that. That is not my goal. I want to work well with you all. I enjoy working well with all of you. We just know that the joint powers agreement and the MOU is a big ask. We know that. I stood before you and I own that. It's a huge request. Huge ask with everything else that you're dealing with in our community. And I'm fully aware of that. I've had conversations with many of you of the stress that I felt because of what the impact of the airport and lower assessed valuation has had on other entities in our community and the impact there. So to be very clear, I have no interest in going sideways with any of you. I just know that over the last 2.5 months, there's been a lot of accusations made to the airport board, and we need to get to the bottom of those because the airport board has no desire to hide anything from this group. The airport board has every intention of complying with whatever your wishes are. We have every intention of working well with you. There has been absolutely nothing from the airport's perspective that we want to go down a path of arguing or fighting. I'm just simply stating we have this in front of us today. If we're going to change interpretations of joint powers agreements, I think those are conversations we need to have, and probably a little bit deeper than we can have in a 5-minute public meeting agenda item. So we want to work with you, Mr. Chairman, to be very clear, have no, I'm trying to find the right word, but no anger towards you all, no frustration towards you all. Absolute admiration and appreciation is all that we have. So.
Mr. Tillman.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not going to get into a discussion at this point on accusations, but I do have another question. I would like to see the actual application, and I don't think this board should approve this until your board approves it tomorrow. And I would like to address your board tomorrow about our concerns from this board, not from you. Is the FAA allowing you to use past expenditures to reimburse past? Is that allowed in the FAA application?
I wouldn't be
concern I
here.
have.
I wouldn't be here, man, or Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, I would not be here asking for this approval if it wasn't. We've been doing it for 30 years.
I
And the
just think
FAA
it-
has approved, this will be our 6th application in those 30 years, and they've approved the 5 prior applications with no issue.
Well, my concern is that it should have a dates on this agreement, because we don't know that it expires December 1st. There's no dates on it. There's no list of the improvements that it's going to be reimbursing. And I'd like to see a copy of the application attached to a resolution, so we can see what we are approving, what we are authorizing. And I don't mean to be difficult, but I think we just need to have it very clear so we don't have misunderstandings. That would be my recommendation, that we table it until the airport board has addressed it tomorrow.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Richards.
Devin, the resolution authorizes continuation of the 450 PFC, which I guess raises the question, if it's a continuation, what does our current agreement look like? This particular resolution is open-ended, doesn't have a doesn't have a expiration date. So I'm going to assume that the previous one doesn't have an expiration date either. Are we operating on a continuing resolution that is there whether we pass this one or not? Or does the FAA require new resolutions on a regular basis? That's just not all spelled out here.
So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, excellent question. So quite honestly, I don't believe that the city and the county even need to approve a resolution. I think the airport board has the authority to do it without the two sponsors, but our consultant that we're using for this application believes that just to make sure that the FAA doesn't ask any questions about the fact that only one of the three sponsors passed a resolution, that we should do it. The last application occurred before my time here, and I apologize that I did not reach out to your staff or the county staff to ask for any potential resolutions that might be on file prior to my tenure at the airport. So I can't speak to even if this board was ever presented with a resolution for the 2015 application or any prior applications. It's my interpretation of the federal law that this isn't even necessary, but our consultant encouraged me to approach the city and the county and ask for this. And I'm happy to do that in transparency. And so, yeah, I guess I don't have a better answer for you. This is meant to control this. If we want to amend the resolution, I'm happy to do that. This was provided by our consultant. I didn't write this. This is verbatim what they use for all their other clients that they assist with the PFC application at the federal level. But this by no means is, hey, it's not like a business council resolution where you have to use these exact words. If we want to amend it, I'm more than happy to have that done and get this thing amended. Whatever it takes to get it done. I don't want to lose the collection authority. And so the continuation word, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner, that's the language that the federal government uses when you're already imposing a fee. A new application, it's just continuation of being able to collect the fee you're already collecting.
So I guess that's the question though, because you're already imposing the 450, right?
Yes, Mr.
So
Chairman.
why are we doing a continuation?
Because we run out of collection
Okay.
authority on December 1st. So when we applied in 2015, prior to my arrival here, there was a set list of projects with a set
Oh, I
dollar
see.
amount.
I see.
And it is estimated that on December 1st, we will have collected that full dollar amount. And we need to be able to continue past that. Very similar, if you will, once again, I hate to keep referring to the 6 penny, but it's a world you all live in, that if the Board of County Commissioners and the local entities wanted to pursue continuation of the 6 penny when the current application runs out, you would go to the voters at the proper election before that so that you would try to avoid that gap in theory. That's what we're trying to do here. Your process is to go to the voters, our process is to go to the airlines and to the FAA. And so it's a very similar process, but it's a user fee, not a tax.
Got it. Commissioner Slaughter?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to first talk with respect to Commissioner Tolman's question with respect to not having the original agreement. I think that's something, not having something here that stated that your authority was typically going to run out December 31st is something that she would be looking for. I think that would be beneficial to have that. I don't see the timing of our board signing this as being a critical issue. I think in this situation, I don't have a problem in signing this and having the city sign their copy tonight and the airport board doing that tomorrow. I don't understand, I guess, the position that Commissioner Tolman is taking and the reasoning behind having their board approve this first. I don't see that as being necessary with this particular agreement. So I just think I would be comfortable. I would like to see additional information, but I would be comfortable in doing this today and not delaying the process.
And Mr. Chairman, to that point, I am more than happy to provide, as soon as I get back to the office, it's a printout off of a website database the FAA maintains that has a predicted collection or I forget what they exactly call it, but that December 1st date, it'll just be a screenshot off of the FAA's website of their database that we report all the revenues to and the expenditures. I'm happy to get that sent to you. I can call Shannon on my way out the door and have that forwarded over. I'm happy to get you all of the behind the scenes paperwork. The application can't be done until we go through all of these public processes that have to happen with the airline, the public collection period. But we have a lot of paperwork in the background that describes all the past projects that are being funded and the dollar amounts associated with those. I can have that emailed to you as soon as I get back to my office. I have that, Shannon doesn't, but I can have that emailed back to you within minutes of me stepping foot in my office as well. I apologize. I didn't come more prepared. I didn't anticipate these questions and this approach. So I apologize. I didn't come more prepared. I usually pride myself in being more prepared. So I was a little taken off guard today. So I apologize.
Commissioner Jones?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. De Leon, so is there issue with us signing this with the airport director, since our line truly is through the board first at the airport? I understand you fill out the applications, and I get all that. That's really not my concern. My concern is, are we following the right path?
Yeah, so, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Jones, you do in some scenarios identify certain representatives and authorize them to do acts on behalf of other entities. So I don't know that I think it would be discretionary on your part in terms of whether you wanted that to say the airport board, or if you wanted that to say airport director. I think that would be a discretionary decision on your part.
If it doesn't matter, then I guess I'm not worried about it. I just want to make sure.
Any other questions, comments?
Well, I do. I want to address Devin. I do not want my liaison relationship with the airport board to be going south because you think that I'm making accusations. I am doing my due diligence as your liaison to point out to our appointed board members what it says in the MOU. That is all I have done. I have not tried to make any accusations or insinuations. So I want to clarify that. And if you have an issue, I'd appreciate hearing about it. This is the first I saw this when it shows up on our agenda. This was not discussed with me. I did not have an opportunity to look at it before you brought it before us today. So Devin, I applaud that you have so much foresight and energy for that airport. And I totally support what's happening up there. But all I'm asking is, I know it's hard when you're the director, you want to be in charge and you want to run ahead, but you've got a board. You've got to keep that board fully engaged. And sometimes I think you run out ahead of them a little bit. And I know they support you. I know they support you totally, but this is one example where I think you could empower your board. The board is what we are operating with. And I'm not trying to diminish your energy and your abilities. They're powerful, but some of the documents we've had, you've kind of outrun your headlights a little bit on capital and on what your responsibilities are. So I'm not accusing you. I'm just saying, stay in the lines of what's legal. So I would like to see the application. I would like to see your board approve this before we approve it. And I would like to be able to see the other documents that you're recommending. And I think a 2-week delay is not going to cause you to lose out on your December 1st deadline. If you could have the patience to let us do that.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Richards?
So as I'm looking at this resolution, this resolution isn't an MOU or an agreement with Rock Springs and the airport board. It's just a resolution making a statement on behalf of the county commissioners and our agreement to authorize the collection of the PFC and how it should be used. I do think this resolution could use a little bit of wordsmithing. I understand that it was probably written by a consultant for their purposes, but as a resolution, it serves our purposes. I would be more comfortable if I received copies of our current authorization that we're operating under so I can compare the documents. And then copies of the FAA contract that you discussed, so I can make a more informed decision. It doesn't sound like we're down to the wire on minutes on this. I feel like if we had a little bit of time to look at it and maybe consult with Mr. De Leon on tweaking some of the language, I'd be more comfortable. So I would move that we postpone consideration of this until our next meeting, and give us a chance to look at it and do a little bit of historical research. And I don't believe I have any issues with it, but I just think that there's some room to make it work a little better.
I would second that.
Do have a motion to postpone resolution number 2408 CC05 by Commissioner Richards. We've got a second by Commissioner Toman. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
as I said before, this isn't an MOU with the airport board. This isn't an MOU with City Rock Springs. I think they're welcome to address their individual resolutions independently and pass or not pass them, and it should have no effect on our decision in 2 weeks. My only concern here is just making sure we are saying something that is accurate to what we want to say.
We have a motion and a second on the table. All in favor of the postponement signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Motion passes 4-1. Thanks, Devin. Sounds like
Mr. Chairman.
we'll be in touch and we'll work through it.
Yes, sir.
Devin, announce your master open house tomorrow, please.
Mr. Chairman, there, as you all should have received an invite, there is a public officials open house at 3:30 tomorrow in the Bice Room at the events complex for the airport master plan. At 5 p.m. is the public community open house. So you all are invited to both, either or both. You'll see largely the same presentation, but we thought it was a great opportunity, like we did in January, to allow local elected officials and public officials to ask maybe some deeper questions and things that are more in tune with the operation of the airport versus some of the public comments that might come in during the public meeting at 5 o'clock. So you're welcome to attend either or both. We'll have just some set up from Wild Wifey Shop for some charcuterie boards, not enough for dinner, but enough to whet your appetite for the afternoon a little bit. And then I would be remiss if I did not point out, it was announced yesterday officially that the airport will be moving into our temporary terminal, starting in small form tomorrow morning after the morning departures. And then on Thursday morning after the morning departures, we will move the entire operation in an 18-hour window over to the temporary terminal. So it's going to be a very, very crazy week for us. Friday morning, passengers will depart out of the temporary terminal. Thursday night, passengers will arrive into the existing terminal. So it's the biggest terminal move I've done in my 21-year career at 6 different airports. And I've been at the 8th largest airport in the country, or in the world, I'm sorry. And this is bigger than anything we even did in Charlotte. So definitely a big, heavy lift, but we got a lot of great people working on it. And I'd welcome you all out as usual, anytime. Give me a call. Happy to be a tour of projects, give you a tour of the airport, talk airport business. And as always, there's nothing that we have nothing to hide. So anything you all want to see, do, hear about, I could spend days talking about the airport. It's my passion. Absolutely love it. Love the industry. And I'd be happy to share that with you anytime. And I promise I won't do it for days with you, but if you have an hour to spend, I'd love to do it with you. So thank you.
Very good. Thanks,
Thanks,
Devin.
Devin.
Moving right along, Commissioners, under tab C, item number 3, we've got change order number 1 to the 2024 County Road 1 Frost Heaves project. With us this morning is Public Works Director Gene Legursky. And good morning, Gene.
Good morning. Thank you, Chairman West, fellow commissioners. What you have before you is change order number 1 to the Frost Heaves project on County Road 1. If you remember last meeting, we did a budget amendment because we received $100,000 from Williams. In one of the other meetings that we had, Williams promised a a check then and a check in January, and looking at what we could do with that money and the expediency of the road and the damage that was caused doing the frost heaves and the 160 trucks going back and forth over 14 days. We felt like we could do some stuff with our crews and with Lewis and Lewis to improve that first 2.3 miles of road. So what I'm asking you today is to allow this change order for $250,000. The first 100,000 will be paid by Williams. Hopefully in January, we'll get another 100,000 like they promised. So we'll pull $50,000 out of fuel tax to pay for the rest of it.
Very good. Thanks, Gene. Any questions on this change order, commissioners? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve change order number 1 to the 2024 County Road 1 Frost Heaves project for $250,000 and allow the chairman to sign all required documentation.
Mr. Chairman, I would
Commissioner-
like to make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Toman. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Slaughter. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gene. Moving right along to item number 4, we've got the approval of the updated Sweetwater Bomb Squad MOU. With us this morning is Sheriff Grossnickel and Under Sheriff Tomich. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Before you is the updated memorandum of understanding between Sweetwater County, City of Green River, and the City of Rock Springs for the Sweetwater Bomb Squad. As you may know, the Sweetwater Bomb Squad serves not only Sweetwater County, but through this MOU and through the authority of the FBI and Wyoming Homeland Security serves a good portion of Southwest Wyoming, including Carbon, UNA, Lincoln, Sublette, and in support of Teton County's bomb squad as well. So this just allows the bomb squad to continue its operations as is. As you probably know, that there's no one agency that has the manpower to staff the squad. So as it currently sits, the squad is staffed by members from Sweetwater County Sheriff's Office and the Green River Police Department. The City of Rock Springs removed their person a few years ago, but they're now interested either between the police department and now the fire department in placing additional personnel on the bomb squad for us. So this MOU is required for the accreditation that's coming up for the bomb squad in September of this year. So the FBI required us to update this MOU. And then in doing so, we also included the additional language to allow Rock Springs Fire Department through the Regional Emergency Response Team to participate in that as well for manpower issues. So we'd just be asking for signature from approval from the board and signature from the chairman on this, and it will go in front of, I believe, both city councils tonight as well.
Thanks, Under Sheriff Tomich. Looks like it's a 4-year agreement.
Correct.
Okay. Questions on the MOU, commissioners?
Don't panic, but I do have a question. Does the Green River Fire Department want to be a part of that or just the police department?
So Commissioner Tillman, to answer your question, the Green River Fire Department, for the most part, doesn't have the authority to do that because the requirements for a bomb technician require them to be full-time firefighters or full-time law enforcement officers that are sworn. So due to the structure of the Green River Fire Department, they are not in a position to place anyone on the squad and have them certified as a bomb technician.
Thank you.
Additional comments or questions? Not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the updated Sweetwater Bomb Squad MOU and allow the chairman to sign.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Jones. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Richards. Any discussion on the MOU? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Next, under tab C, we've got item number 5, which is the approval of the fiscal year 2025 Services to Victims of Crime Grant Contract. And with us this morning is County Grants Manager Christina Marshall. Good morning.
Good morning. Ooh, they all came to listen to me. We got an exciting grant award here. So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Sweetwater County was awarded $96,123 in federal and state funding from the Wyoming Division of Victim Services under the Office of the Attorney General. So the purpose of this funding and grant is to provide services to victims of crime in the community. First, they provide support and community referrals. They assist victims with filing for compensation. They provide information about cases and court procedures. They accompany witnesses and victims to court. And finally, they act as a liaison with the criminal justice system. And honestly, I was thrilled to serve on jury this year and saw this in action, actually. So very valuable program. So the grant will be used to pay for 2 part-time victim witness coordinator positions who work with 1 other full-time permanent victim witness coordinator in the county attorney's office. Together, these employees enforce what we call the Wyoming's Bill of Rights in Sweetwater County. In fiscal year 24, this last year, they served 788 unduplicated victims and provided 5,127 documented services for 881 victimized crimes. There were also 1,799 notifications of court hearings and 241 referrals to other victim service agencies. So the total budget for this grant project is $129,277. The grant goes towards paying for those 2 part-time victim witness coordinators, which then is supplemented by county funding for the total budget. And there's also a required software. It's called VS Tracking, which is where we get all that great data I just read. So some notes. The county's portion was included in the fiscal year 25 grant projects budget, which included a 3% COLA as approved by the commission and a 5% increase to health insurance. The payroll information was provided by Human Resources, and any cost savings will go back to the county's portion. Any operational costs for the program is actually budgeted as part of the county attorney's office. So in your packet, you have 4 attachments. The first one is a very basic boilerplate contract like you've seen before. And our county attorney got to sign that one already. But you get the heavy lifting actually in the certified assurances and special conditions. That's the attachment B. That includes a lot of important items such as DOJ regulations for civil rights, discrimination, lobbying, fraud, waste, dealing with sensitive info, and so forth. It's a complicating grant because there are 3 types of funding sources. So, for example, in our audit, it becomes very fragmented because I just don't report on each grant. I have to do it by funding sources. So, and then you also have a disclosure of lobbying activities form, which is for the people working on the project. You can see there's none to be reported. And I skipped over the attachment A, which is the subgrantee audit requirements. So we're the subgrantee, and that's part of the Code of Federal Regulations where we have to do that single audit. So in your financial report, you'll have the first part, financial report and compliance supplement, and that's what the grants part is about. So with that, I'm happy to answer any additional questions you may have.
Thanks, Christina. Another good program that has lots of behind the scenes work and requirements. So appreciate your attention to all that. Any questions on this grant contract, commissioners? If not, then entertain a motion to approve the fiscal year 2025 services to victims of crime grant contract and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Jones. Do we have a second?
I would second that.
Second by Commissioner Toman. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christina.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next on the agenda, we're a little bit behind, so sorry for that, is item number 6, which is a quarterly ambulance update. We've got CEO of Castle Rock Hospital District, Bailey Doctor, along with staff and board members. Good morning to you all.
Good morning. Thank you for having us. I'll start out by talking a little bit about the upcoming year, and then Kim is going to give you an update on how the last quarter went with operations. So this year we ended the fiscal year ahead of budget, as you saw in the email that our CFO sent you. So we had decreased at our last meeting, I believe, the request for subsidy this year to 1.6 million, and we ended the fiscal year a little bit ahead of that. So our subsidy will be around 1.54 million this year. So we're really excited about the kind of the shift that we've seen in ambulance and what those numbers mean for us. We have 28 people that work for us regularly on the ambulance. And Kim has recognized a need to increase how much coverage we're offering to the community. So there's times that we're running 4 ambulances instead of 3, especially when we have transports that are going outside of our community. And then I'm sure right now it feels like there's about 7 because of so many events that we have going on with the summer. And it's really always a challenge to find staff to be able to cover for the rodeo and the horse races and everything else that's going on. So I do feel like they're doing a really good job, meeting all of the needs of the community. I did want to touch on just our plan for the upcoming year. So we have purchased land over by the college on Gateway from Western Wyoming Community College. And we're in the beginning phases of design with our architects for a new ambulance bay there. And the reason that we chose that location is because of the central location and the need to respond both east and west in Rock Springs. So it was ideal. It was a great value, we felt like, and that's why we chose the spot that we did, was because we feel like we can respond quickly from there. Also, this year we did decide to give raises to the ambulance staff. We don't do a cost of living adjustment at the district. We do a wage analysis for everyone and try to make sure that we're in line with similar positions. That, we can compare EMTs across the state, really across the country. Our consultant helps us with some of those wage analysis. And this year we decided also that because we're paying a pretty competitive wage, we also recognize that we have local competition for our EMTs. It has been difficult for us to recruit the upper level advanced providers in our intermediates and paramedics. So we gave about 16% to those staff, approximately. It varies amongst like where they are on the wage scale. And then our basics and our advanced providers got closer to 8%. So we did give pretty significant raises and are hoping that that can help curb some of the overtime that we're incurring, because we're hoping to be able to recruit staff. Our EMTs have put on an advanced class, and it's transitioning into an intermediate class. So we have a number of our current staff that are being trained to advance through the program as well. And we're continuing to work with Western and hoping that we can recruit from their new basic class that they're offering as well. It won't end until next month. So anyway, just some exciting things happening, and we appreciate your support as always. I don't know how the community would survive ambulance services without the support of our commissioner. So we really appreciate what you guys do for us and helping pay for that. So I'll let Kim go and then answer any questions.
So we sent over the statistics for the quarter, April 1st through June 30th. As you can see, we ran 1,161 911 transfer calls. These do not include any of the standby events that we do for the community, such as Bailey mentioned, the rodeos, sports games, things like that. We did really well on our times. Our average time to en route was 1.47 minutes, and then our en route to arrive on scene was 8.44 minutes. 8 minutes may sound like a lot, but in rural areas, the median is actually 14 minutes. And then when you look at the map and see the outlying areas that we've had to go to, we've had, typically Farson is able to cover their own area, but they've had incidences where they had to have us come and help them. They also have occasional times where they don't have EMS in town. McKinnon, Manila, we went out to Little America and out even past Little America quite a few times during this quarter. So while it's something that we want to do to get less than 8 minutes, the rural ness of our area makes it a little bit more difficult to get the super fast times. As Bailey said, our staff is working on their classes. We did finish the advanced class. We're waiting for those staff to be able to take their national registry test. We did have kind of a hiccup because starting July 1st, they were not required by the national registration to take a skills test, but at the last minute, the state threw on a skills test. It was supposed to be last week and then they had to postpone. So that's delaying us a little bit on that. But then we do have the intermediate class going right now. The intermediate class is to give people the skills and the knowledge to be able to work advanced life support, which helps us to be able to provide more skills and more care to people. So overall, things I feel are going really well. Our staff is doing a fantastic job. And do you have any questions, concerns?
Thanks to you both for the information and for the reports in the packet. We appreciate that. Questions or comments, commissioners? Commissioner Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A question for you, and you probably can't answer it today, so probably something that you'll want to give a little thought to. But first of all, thanks for the reduction in the financial side. That's always a good thing, or typically. I was just looking at my phone because I was texted almost exactly 24 hours ago, 25 hours ago, excuse me, but my world kind of changed yesterday, so I didn't have a chance to speak to you about this, but I was asked about a gentleman Sunday night who fell and broke his hip and could not be transported because of lightning and rain. So I ended up spending 7.5 hours in our ER. I know you can't answer it. I'm not asking, I guess.
I can speak to it if you'd like.
I guess my point is, though, that I would like to, I mean, it's the board's responsibility. It's not our responsibility, but it would be kind of nice to hear a little bit more about the quality of the care, I think, from time to time. And I know I'm putting you on the spots, and that's not fair. And if I would have had time yesterday, I would have reached out to you and handled this a whole lot differently.
No, you're perfectly okay. So let me tell you about that situation. I was actually working the horse races, and when we got called for that transport was when that nasty storm came through where the wind was blowing so bad. Even driving through town, horse races got canceled as I'm driving the ambulance back through town. The wind was so bad, we were trying to keep it on the road. So they called me for the transport and I said, yes, but give us a little while for this wind to die down. And I'll give you a call back, because you get ambulances going highway speeds with the super big winds it was temporary. Called them back and they said, never mind, we called Gold Cross to come and get them from Utah. It was supposed to be a very temporary thing, and the hospital went ahead and called another service. And so that's why that was delayed. It wasn't to be a prolonged thing. It was just to keep the staff and the patients safe when the winds were as bad as they were. So I apologize to that person for doing it. Only planned on waiting less than an hour, just enough for the winds to die down.
I just think, I mean, like I say, the finances are obviously a huge thing, but
Yeah.
quality of the care is
Agreed.
ultimately
Agreed. No,
what
I
we're
was,
after.
I'll be honest with you, I was super frustrated by that too, to know that they had another ambulance coming from Utah when I had just asked them to wait till the wind had died down, because if any of you guys experienced that wind, it was severe. So, like I said, I
I
apologize.
wasn't here, so I don't.
Oh, you weren't? It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. So it was just a temporary thing until the wind could die down. It would have been maybe a half hour if they would have just waited.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions, comments, commissioners? How are things overall? I mean, it sounds like things are improving. You're moving forward with the design of the building. It sounds like staffing is getting better. There's some, I guess, different efforts there to recruit. Is the college always offered that class, by the way? That's a new thing. And how
Yes.
long is that? Is that a semester deal, or how do they go about getting
I'm trying
certified?
to remember how long it is. It
It
started,
in June.
yeah, they started June 24th, and I believe that they get done in September,
Mhm.
but I can't remember the dates for sure. In the past, they did have an EMS whole course where they even one year had a paramedic course. I don't know exactly what happened to it, but it went away a couple years ago, and then they just brought this course back this summer.
Okay. So they attend for 4 or 5 months and they come out with a basic certification?
Mhm.
Okay.
They have
Yeah.
someone from outside of the area teaching, because it's difficult to find instructors. He comes in from South Dakota every other weekend to help and then teaches remotely during the week. And it's been great. They have like over 20 people, I think, in the program right now that just want to get their basic for the community. And it'll be a great opportunity for us to be able to recruit some local people that want to volunteer and, you know, get into EMS. So this is the first one that they've offered in a number of years. Their director had retired. And so that's why they had to stop offering those classes for the EMS system there. And we're hoping that they'll continue to do others as well for us. It's just beginning, but it's probably a little more sustainable for us if Western does it, because our staff are, as you can imagine, pulled in all the directions and working a lot of overtime just to cover 911. So to add teaching, they love it. And then at the end of the class, it's always like, we're never doing it again.
Yeah.
So
And right now we are going to plan on offering a basic class, but like I said, we did the advanced and the intermediate first, but we have a couple of our advanced people that are taking a paramedic course and teaching those courses and working for us. And so it's a lot to take on, but they're doing a great job with it and really helping with getting things advanced for us so that way we can continue to provide care and up our skills and our game actually.
Well, very good. No, and we, you know, obviously coming in at 1.6 and now it's down to 1.54 or whatever the number was. I mean, that shows improvement financially speaking, as long as you still have the support you need. And it sounds like that's improving too. So from my perspective, I haven't heard a whole lot, which is generally a good thing. And so I really don't have any additional questions. We appreciate you guys coming over and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
thank you.
I
Thanks
have a
all.
question. I mean, how are the insurance reimbursements coming along? I mean, it's probably a steady percentage as to how much you can actually recover through insurance.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty typical. What we've seen in the past is collecting 35 to 40% of what we bill. So our, you know, our days in AR on the ambulance has increased, but we expected that because those are larger balances than what we see on the medical center side. So we did outsource our billing service to a company that just does ambulance billing, and it's going really well. We were handling that all internally up until last spring, and they're doing a great job for us. So we feel comfortable that that's all getting billed in a timely manner. And but you do have a larger amount of bad debt on the ambulance side of things. There's uninsured patients and people that will just never pay their bill that we happen to pick up traveling through. So we're there for every patient, and regardless of their ability to pay, we provide that service. And that's on transports as well, which is kind of not necessarily a change, but if you remember a number of years ago, when we were sharing the transports amongst different ambulance services, the payer source was always coming up as, is this a question? And even though both ambulance services really weren't asking that question, there was always doubt, you know, from the patient side of things. Like, you know, your contact, for instance, if, you know, say 3 years ago, if they hadn't had insurance and waited on an ambulance, that could plant doubt in their mind as well. And our goal is to provide care to everybody as quickly as we can, regardless of their ability to pay. So yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Well, thank you all. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, commissioners, we tried to get this on the agenda last time, but we didn't have approval from the governor's office. So since then, we've got it, and we thought it'd be appropriate to bring it back on the agenda. It's Resolution 2408 CC03, which is a resolution to honor the memory of Carl A. Maldonado, former Sweetwater County Commissioner, Senator, and State Representative. And I'll read that aloud. Whereas the members of the Sweetwater County Board of County Commissioners were greatly saddened to learn of the passing of former Sweetwater County Commissioner, Senator, and Representative Carl A. Maldonado. Whereas Carl Maldonado served as a Sweetwater County Commissioner from January 2nd, 1995 to December 31st, 2002, and as Chairman of the Commission from 1997 to 2000. And whereas Carl Maldonado represented Sweetwater County in both the State House of Representatives from 1983 to 1988, and as a state senator serving District 13 from 1989 to 1994. where he was the Senate Minority Whip from 1993 to 1994. And whereas Carl Maldonado served as a U.S. Army paratrooper in the 319th Artillery, 173rd Airborne in Vietnam. Whereas Carl Maldonado's engaging personality and direct and open style of communication left an indelible mark on his coworkers, fellow politicians, and family alike. Now therefore be it resolved by the Sweetwater County Board of County Commissioners that we honor the memory of Carl A. Maldonado, former Sweetwater County Commissioner, Representative, Senator, and express our deepest condolences to his son, Carl F. Maldonado, daughter Carla LaFair, as well as his many friends and family. Be it further resolved that as a gesture of respect and recognition of Carl Maldonado's lifelong service to Sweetwater County, that the state of Wyoming flag at all Sweetwater County facilities shall be lowered to half staff, sun up until sundown on the day of his interment, or as otherwise directed by the board and authorized by Wyoming Governor Mark Gordon. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be presented to the Maldonado family. And with that, commissioners, if you join me for a moment of silence. And with that, I entertain a motion to approve resolution 2408 CC03.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
I would second that.
Second by Commissioner Toman. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion is unanimous. Final item before us this morning, commissioners, we're almost caught up. We're a little bit behind there, but we've got item 8 under tab C, which is the decommission of the Pat Trap discussion. And at this time, I'll hand it over to Commissioner Slaughter.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. About a month ago, I was contacted by a former member of our trap club, a person who had been integral in the trap club before we as a county took it over. And they had heard that we had replaced the traps that we have used out at our shooting complex. And he had been in contact with several other shooting clubs around the area that might have been interested in using those decommissioned traps that we've got. So I requested that if there were entities out there he knew of that were interested in these traps, that they would send a letter on to me. I've included 4 of those in the packet showing interest from 4 regional trap clubs around our area. The general purpose for each of these clubs is to use them for 4-H activities and youth gun clubs, things of that nature. I believe that certainly they will use them for other things. But I thought it was probably in our best interest to look at potentially doing either a surplus sale of these items or potentially looking at gifting these items to some of these entities if it were possible. So I had a discussion with Deputy County De Leon and brought forth these requests that I had seen. And we had a discussion. Obviously, if we were dealing with other governmental entities, this would be much simpler. We could just at that point in time choose if we wanted to donate these traps. But with them being private trap clubs, it creates a little bit of an issue. So I thought I would bring the concept before the board, see what the board thought of potentially putting these traps up for auction. I did talk with Marty Durnovich, our purchasing director. She had said that it would be no problem for her to organize a surplus inventory sale. She's looking at doing the normal sale that they do for the county, but she's not ready to do that. But if we chose, it would be something that she would be able to do. She did meet me out at the night building where these traps, decommissioned traps, are being held. I've supplied you with pictures of those traps. There are 7 of the multi-throw traps, which are the Pat traps. There are 9 single lever Western throwers that are out there. Marty has inventoried all of them. They have serial numbers for each of them. And once again, I thought a discussion of whether we could potentially donate or do these traps in a surplus inventory sale would be something warranted today.
Thanks, Commissioner. I think it's a good idea. I too spoke with Purchasing Director Dernovich. She's also online remotely for us today. I asked her to attend in case any questions came up. So thanks for that, Marty. Yeah, I think originally, like always, it starts with one person that's interested, and then it morphs from that into more. And so I would support the idea of the public auction route and see where that goes. I think that's a fair process. So I'm good with that. Additional comments, commissioners?
I'm fine.
Agreed. Mr. Chairman, that being the case, I would move that we instruct Purchasing Director Marty Dernovich to organize a surplus inventory sale for these pat traps, the 7 pat traps and the 9 single arm Western throwers.
We do have a motion to move forward with the surplus sale of the decommissioned pat traps as discussed by Commissioner Slaughter. Sounds like we have a second by Commissioner Richards. Is there any further discussion? I believe within that surplus, we can either have those bids that come in opened up here, or like much of the vehicles, Marty can just award and open on her own. I'm good with that.
I would be good with that, Mr. Chairman. I would like to inform those entities that had expressed interest with their letters that we are doing this, so they're aware, and have Sally potentially reach out to each of those entities, letting them know once we have the specifics of the sale and make sure that they are aware that the sale is taking place.
Okay. Any other discussion? Marty, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Commissioners, no, I'm good with that. I'll get the sale listed, put together. We will put it on our website. And then, of course, we'll advertise it next week in the local paper. And then I'll get that information on to Sally so she can provide it to the members that Rob has received information from.
Very good. Thank you for your help with that. With that, we do have a motion and second on the table. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion is unanimous. Nice work, commissioners. That does conclude all the items today. So with no further business to come before this board, this meeting